So much, guys. Elle Duncan, Ashley Brewer, what's up, everybody? We hope you enjoyed that semifinal game between Italy and Spain. Baseball fans get to enjoy the best pitcher in Major League Baseball in action tonight. More on that later because, Elle, it's time for the finals. Let's go.
And then there were two, Ashley. We're so ready. The Desert, as you know, set to host their first NBA Finals game in almost 30 years. That's just one of many storylines. We are just over 3 hours away from tip to game one, and here is what we know. We know that at long last, one of the longest active title droughts in the NBA is going to end. Since joining the NBA together in 1968, the Suns and Bucks have combined to win one title. That was Milwaukee's, and it was 50 years ago. As for the Suns, they're the first team in NBA history to reach the finals after a 10-year playoff drought. The NFL's Bucks actually just did that earlier this year, of course, and we remember that ended with a championship parade and a tipsy Tom Brady. And for Milwaukee, it's 8 years in the making. The Bucks used a one-month span in the summer of 2013 to draft Giannis and trade for Chris Middleton. Both rank in the top 5 in playoff scoring for the franchise and are now hoping to add a little jewelry. Let's set the table with the players involved.
Walking into here, seeing Mr. Larry on every poster, it gave me goosebumps.
If there's a souvenir shop, I'll probably get my wallet and buy something.
It's obviously something that millions and millions of people around the world would give a lot to be a part of. The fact that myself and my team and everyone in this organization has an opportunity to play in it is incredible.
Being able to be a kid from Little Rock, Arkansas, being able to represent myself, being able to be in NBA Finals, it's a dream come true.
This is a kid's game that we play, you know what I mean? So this is a blessing and an opportunity to play this game. I think our team knows when to lock in and when we got to enjoy the moment and enjoy ourselves.
Everybody count us out, and the fact that we just keep moving forward, all you can really do is just congratulate us.
Crazy because every year when you fight to try to get to this moment, taking hits, fighting, and actually be here before a game, it's hard to put it in perspective.
It's kind of the survival of the fittest mindset. I don't think it's really about to throw hands, but the closest thing you can do that without doing it. We're not here to, justify what we're doing to anybody else, for real. We've had goals for this group and aspirations for this group since day one. We're on the constant pursuit to get better.
It's an opportunity for a lifetime, and really just leave everything out there. Believe in yourself because you prepared for it, and most of all, just enjoy it, everything that comes with it.
Enjoy, we will. SportsCenter on the Road is presented by Rocket Mortgage as we say hello to Malika Andrews, who's joining us now live, covering the Bucks for us. And Malika, we all want to see Giannis on the floor for game one. Of those storylines I just ran down, that's the one that's lingering over all of this. What can you tell us about his status as we were about 3 hours from tip?
Well, he has been upgraded, Elle, from doubtful to questionable. But as Adrian Wojnarowski and I have been told, Giannis Antetokounmpo has been going through around-the-clock treatment because he is one of the ultimate competitors in this league, and he wants to be out on the floor. Now, Giannis was able to go through a workout yesterday. It was away from the cameras. It was separate from the practice that the team went through yesterday afternoon. And Mike Budenholzer said that he's continued to make progress, but he didn't elaborate on exactly what progress meant. Now, Chris Middleton said that he's been trying to support Giannis by saying, hey, do what is best for you. Take your time. Don't come back before you're ready and risk getting further injured. This is a decision that's going to need to come down a little closer to game time, but we all know Giannis Antetokounmpo, he wants to play.
Listen, we know better than anyone. The Bucks do better than anyone. Game one does not necessarily mean you won't win the series. They got hit in the mouth against the Hawks and went on to win it all. Let's play worst case scenario for the Bucks, Malika. Giannis can't go, right? How are they going to adjust?
Well, what they've been doing for the last couple of games without him is winning by committee, and that starts with Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton is the guy, Drew Holiday said, we have ridden his shoulders all the way to these NBA Finals, and they may need to continue to do so. But what they are looking at is trying to continue to be aggressive. Drew Holiday told me yesterday that when Giannis Antetokounmpo, when he is out on the court, he is aggressive all the time. And so he tries to make up for some of that lack of aggressiveness if Giannis is unable to go. They've also been doing an incredible job of penetrating, getting into the paint. They need to continue to do that. They know that that is their game. They are big, they are strong, and they need to play to those strengths, Elle.
You said it. They are coming off wire-to-wire victories despite the fact that they didn't have Giannis in that Eastern Conference Finals. We'll see. Should they not have him if they continue that tonight? Malika Andrews with the latest as we await more news on Giannis' status for Game 1 of the NBA Finals.
All right, let's do a little flashback. The Bucks are making their first NBA Finals appearance since 1974. Current coach Mike Budenholzer was just 4 years old. They were led by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who had over 32 points per game in the series. The Bucks eventually lost Game 7 at home to the Celtics, but Milwaukee, with Kareem and Oscar Robertson, had won the title 3 years earlier, back in 1971. All right, let's go back to 1993, the last finals appearance for the Suns. Devin Booker wasn't even born yet. Chris Paul was 8 years old, and Monty Williams was still playing college ball at Notre Dame. Charles Barkley was league MVP that year, the first for the franchise, but not even Sir Charles could stop Jordan. A clutch three-pointer from John Paxson, of course, would give the Bulls the title. SportsCenter on the Road is presented by Rocket Mortgage, and we now welcome in our friend Dave McMenamin. So, Dave, let's get back to this Suns team. I first want to ask, though, Chris Paul handling the NBA Finals. This is his first appearance. How is he feeling as he approaches this first game of the finals of his career?
Yeah, actually, he said the weirdest part about this is probably the same thing a lot of my friends in their mid-30s with kids are feeling right now, that there hasn't been any games to watch over the last 6 nights. He said he's fallen into this routine where he's watching the other playoff series that are going on. Well, obviously, having clinched their spot in the finals close to a week ago, he's run out of things to watch. He said he's trying to remind himself that even though he wants to be locked in and focused on this incredible opportunity, it is still a kid's game. So he's trying to bring that levity and, mix of focus and levity to Suns practices. And also being a kid's game, he said he always listens to the input of his son and of his daughter when they have something to say about how he's playing on the court.
All right, it's loud in there, which means it is time for the NBA Finals, right? We're still waiting to hear about Giannis, his status for tonight, but assuming we do see him at some point in this series, what's the Suns' plan to defend the two-time MVP?
Actually, I spoke to DeAndre Ayton yesterday, and as excited as he can be about making the finals in his 3rd season in the league and just 22 years old, he has this incredible challenge around the corner of trying to stop Giannis if and when he comes onto the court. And he told me the 2 keys here are try to defend without fouling and wall up the paint. Obviously, you want to try to get Giannis shooting jump shots rather than finishing at the rim with dunks and layups. He said part of that strategy will just be matching the physicality and matching the competitive level that Giannis brings to the court. He said, if I do that, we'll have a chance.
Yep, it is do or die. The NBA Finals beginning tonight. We know if Giannis has the choice, he will do so. Just got to be healthy to do it. Dave McMenamin, thanks so much.
You know it's a special night in the NBA because SportsCenter with Stephen A. is coming up here at 7 o'clock right here on ESPN. In the meantime, we're lucky enough to get a few minutes with Stephen A. right now as he's joining us live. And I want to talk role players right now, Stephen A., in this thing, right? Because with Giannis either unavailable or let's say potentially not at 100%, it's going to fall back on Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton. Who would you say is more important in this series of those role players, Middleton or Holiday?
Well, the first most important thing I want to say is that your hairdo is lovely. I really, really like the hairdo, Al. It's really slamming. So I got to give you props where it's due, okay? That's number one. Number two, let me get right to it. Drew Holiday, I think, is going to be incredibly pivotal because of the way that he's been playing offensively. But the key thing is this. The ball is in his hands. He's got to make sure he doesn't turn the ball over. He's got to shoot effectively from the perimeter. But the biggest thing, Al, is this. He's got to defend. Because when you talk about the Phoenix Suns and whatever their success is going to be, it's predicated on the greatness of CP3 and Devin Booker. If you neutralize them in any way, you've got a significantly better chance of winning this series. If you don't neutralize them and you just allow CP3 to go haywire like he did in Game 6 against the Los Angeles Clippers when he dropped 41 points in about 35 minutes without a single turnover, then guess what? The Phoenix Suns are going to walk away from this series as defending NBA champions.
Yeah, we saw it. We saw Drew Holiday take exception to how Trey got it on him, right, in the first couple of games, and he decided to turn it around, and boy, did he, before getting hurt. He certainly shut down Trey. We'll see if he could do the same thing with the Suns. I do want to talk about Giannis and Chris Paul, right? They're both currently in their first NBA final. Who would you say is under more pressure to win a title, and why?
Well, I think you're going to look at CP3 simply because he's the one that's been here for 16 years, okay? When he was playing in the NBA, we don't know how old Giannis was at that particular moment in time. At least I don't off the top of my head, but I don't think he was even in high school, for crying out loud. We're talking about a guy in CP3 that's been around for quite a long time. It's 16 years. He's universally recognized as one of the most illustrious point guards this game has ever seen. I think if he wins this series and wins a championship, he's a top 5 point guard all time. That's how I feel about him. You're talking about an Oscar Robertson, a Steph Curry, a Magic Johnson, a great Isaiah Thomas, people like that, with the Jason Kidds of the world, the John Stocktons of the world. But CP3 is right in that conversation if he wins an NBA championship. So you look at this team as presently constructed, you see that Giannis has been compromised with that hyper-extended left knee, and you say, excuse me, the Phoenix Suns have the horses that it takes to win this series, particularly with a hobbled Giannis Antetokounmpo.
My favorite thing about this series, Stephen A., is that the most seasoned person, the person with the most experience, is Jay Crowder. So if anybody needs to know, he's the only one that's ever even been to the NBA Finals on either one of these teams. That is remarkable. Stephen A. going to stick around, talk a little bit more about Game 1. I do appreciate you recognizing my hot curl summer. So thank you very much, Stephen A.
Gotta work. Gotta work.
Some more headlines, of course. We have our NBA Finals tonight, and as we told you, Bucks star Giannis Antetokounmpo has been upgraded from doubtful to questionable for Game 1 of the NBA Finals tonight against the Suns. And sources tell our Adrian Wojnarowski and Malika Andrews that Giannis will be a game-time decision with that knee injury that's kept him out of the last 2 games for Milwaukee.
It's been a lot, man. I want it not just for myself, but for everybody in that locker room.
Coach, I'm trying to calm down, Coach.
You don't have to calm down.
This is nice and all, but we're going for Larry for sure.
Everybody stays ready, everybody stays locked in, and that's all you can ask for.
Knowing Giannis, he'll probably be back at some point in the series. This really is it. This is the last 7 games.
We still have work to do.
Our NBA analyst, Tim Legler, joining us now. So what are the biggest keys for the Bucks in this series, regardless of whether we see Giannis on the floor out there or not?
I'm going to put a lot of this on Drew Holiday, Ashley. I think that Drew Holiday is critical on both ends. I love how aggressive he was at the close of the Atlanta series. And there were times I watched him in the regular season and I wanted to see more of this. This is Drew Holiday, the all-star guard from New Orleans. This is the guy that they needed. And I think sometimes he tends to defer to Chris Middleton and Giannis Antetokounmpo. He needs to go out there, put pressure on Chris Paul to guard him, to wear him down. And then on the other end, his defensive prowess is well known in this league. He's a big, physical defensive guard. And if I'm the Milwaukee Bucks, I am primarily utilizing him on Chris Paul in this series. I think Pat Connaughton could chase Devin Booker around. Chris Middleton can get some of that as well. But I'm using Drew Holiday to try to get into Chris Paul as much as I can and try to wear him out physically on both ends. And I think that's why, for me, Drew Holiday is a huge X factor in this series.
Certainly combined for 52 points in the last 2 games for the Bucks, so that'll certainly help. But give us a prediction for Game 1 and the NBA Finals as a whole, starting with who wins tonight and why, Legs.
Well, I like Phoenix to win the series, so I like him in Game 1. I mean, if I like him to win the series, I don't want to say they're going to drop the first game. I think they win the opener, and I think ultimately, I think this is a team that just looks like they've got something special this year. They check every box, everything you want. Star backcourt. They got a big man that's emerging as a star in this league. Great role players that play both ends of the floor, exceptionally well coached, and they really trust each other. I think the Phoenix Suns have captured something throughout the course of this season. They've gone from being a great story to a great team. And I think ultimately this is going to be a long series. Would not shock me to see the Phoenix Suns hosting a Game 7. And if that's the case, you got to love the home team in that situation.
All right. Hey, whether it's 4 or 7, you're saying Suns, so I'll take it. Suns trying to snap the longest active title drought in the NBA at 52 consecutive seasons. Tim Legler.
2.5 minutes or so, 2.5 hours rather or so until Game 1 of the NBA Finals. But for Chris Paul, it's been 16 seasons and 123 playoff starts to get to this moment. Something that he almost willed himself, as Kirk Goldsberry details.
In his 16th year in the NBA, Chris Paul is finally in the finals. The Suns' 36-year-old point guard is one of the best to ever play the position, and it all starts here, in the mid-range. Paul shot a blistering 51.6% from mid-range this year. That's the 3rd highest by any player over the last 25 seasons. The only players to post a higher number are Dirk Nowitzki and Kevin Durant. CP3's bread and butter spot has always been at the right elbow. This season, he led the league in both buckets and efficiency from his hot spot. Paul is arguably the best mid-range scorer in the league. But CP3 can also burn defenses from downtown, shooting a fiery 40.5% from beyond the arc this postseason. He proved his range in the clinching Game 6 against the Clippers, when he went 7 of 8 from downtown and sent his old team packing with a playoff career-high 41 points.
Through his legs, pulls up for three. Oh, stop it! CP3 looking at the sellout crowd here, ready to pop his collar and say, how do you like me now?
If we do what we're supposed to do, I'll get the last laugh.
As good a jump shooter as he is, Paul is also a world-class distributor. These dimes show us all 122 made shots he's assisted on in these playoffs. Paul's 8.7 assists per game this postseason is his highest clip since his last year in Los Angeles. If the Bucks want to win these finals, they better do what the Clippers could not. Slow down Chris Paul.
There's a whole generation of kids that are like, what are those things that just dropped behind him? Those are coins. Okay, they're called change. Dimes, if you will. SportsCenter on the Road, presented by Rocket Mortgage. As we are joined by Malika Andrews, who, yes, is an NBA reporter, but it feels like for the last week or so, she's just on Giannis watch. I know that he is a game-time decision, but we're about 2.5 hours from tip. So where are we at in the process, Malika, of figuring out his status for tonight?
Yeah, absolutely, Elle. So he was upgraded from doubtful to questionable this afternoon. And as Adrian Wojnarowski and I have been told, he's been getting around-the-clock treatment in order to try to be in a position where he may be able to play. Now, Giannis Antetokounmpo, yesterday, he was on the court. He did a separate workout from the afternoon practice that the team had. Mike Budenholzer said that he is progressing well, but declined to say exactly what progressing means, what he was able to do and what he was able to do without pain. Now, Chris Middleton has said that he has told Giannis, take your time. Don't rush yourself back and put yourself in a position where you could re-injure yourself. But obviously, it would be a welcome surprise if he was able to play with this team.
Welcome is one way to put it, right? Let's just assume, though, worst case scenario here, conjecture, Giannis can't go. Malika, how are the Bucks going to adjust?
Well, what they've been doing over the last couple of games that they have not had him win by committee, Elle, and that starts with Chris Middleton. As Drew Holiday has said, they rode Chris Middleton's shoulders all the way to these finals, and they may need to ride them a little bit more. Drew Holiday said that, look, Chris Middleton, he doesn't shy away from the moment. He is perfectly comfortable carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. But Drew Holiday, he's also had to step up in the absence of Giannis. He told me that he knows that Giannis is aggressive every single minute that he is on the court. And so in his absence, he's trying to make up for some of that offensive as well as defensive aggression that Giannis Antetokounmpo brings. So this is something that needs to be done by committee. We saw Bobby Portis, Brooke Lopez step up in absence of Giannis, and that's going to need to happen again if they want to steal a win here in the Valley.
It was truly impressive what they were able to do to close out the Eastern Conference Finals. A little bit different. You're talking about a loaded Suns team, but we'll certainly see, because again, we don't know yet if Giannis will definitely be out. Malika Andrews is going absolutely nowhere. She continues Giannis watch for us as we await 2.5 hours ahead of tip for Game 1.
All right, and while she does that, the undefeated's Mark Spears joining us now from Phoenix, talking about my team from the 480 or 602, depending what side of town you're from. Devin Booker, who is the Suns' leading scorer, is not only in his first finals, this is his first playoff appearance. And man, has he showed up and showed out. What does he attribute all of this postseason success to?
Well, I think much of it has to go to his father, Melvin Booker, a former University of Missouri star, who also played 32 games in the NBA. When Melvin was, he got Devin to move to Mississippi when he was a sophomore in high school, and Devin credits him for taking his game to the next level. They also used to enjoy this Lil Wayne song called Mr. Carter that came out in 2008, where Jay-Z challenged Lil Wayne to take the rap game to the next level. Melvin Booker challenged Devin to take it to the next level, and recently when Devin saw the song playing on his satellite radio, he took a picture of it and sent it to his dad as a thank you.
I love that. I don't know a whole lot of rap, Mark, but I do know that. Hey, Mr. Carter, right? I won't sing. Okay, this is a reunion for Bucks forward PJ Tucker. He spent 4+ seasons in Phoenix. What's he saying about facing his former team?
Well, I mean, he has a warm spot in his heart for Phoenix, even though he's trying to win this championship. You got to remember, he got cut as a rookie from the Toronto Raptors, went overseas for 4 seasons in Europe, and then he came back to Phoenix, and Phoenix brought him back to the NBA. He talked to his agent and actually his wife about perhaps going to Russia instead, decided to go to Phoenix in 2012, and ultimately just refurbished his NBA career, became a starter, and the rest is history. So this place is where he resurrected his career, and he's certainly very humbled every time he comes back here when he talks about how the Suns actually saved him, saved his NBA life.
Wow, incredible. Hey, not a lot of people like that 123-degree heat. Didn't bother me, but good to hear a good experience, and it sets him up to be at the stage he's at right now.
I'm a tropical person. I don't like this, though.
Find a pool, my friend. Appreciate you so much. Thank you. Enjoy the game.
All right.
All right. That is a look at Giannis Antetokounmpo right there, as we said. Many times he has been working around the clock to get that knee healthy. You see, he's got a wrap around his leg, and he has been upgraded to questionable for the finals opener against the Suns tonight. We, of course, will keep you updated with every single update we get on his status for Game 1 of the NBA Finals.
Chris Paul is in the NBA Finals. What do you think when you hear that sentence?
Man, it sounds damn good. Damn good. I write something on my shoes every game to say, can't give up now.
We do what we're supposed to do, I get the last laugh.
Oh, here we go. 2 hours and 16 minutes from now. Tip from Phoenix. It's the Bucks. It's the Suns. And how about the job that Monty Williams has done in Phoenix as we take a look at his arrival? Entering this postseason, he had a 2-8 record in playoff games. He already has 12 wins in this postseason. An absolutely incredible turnaround. And Mikal Bridges, when you think about that 2018 NBA class, Trae Young, him, Luka Doncic, I mean, just absolute stars. The future is certainly bright as we get ready. And when you say stars, well, you know who's going to show up. SportsCenter's On the Road, presented by Rocket Mortgage, as we say hello to Stephen A. Smith and Michael Wilbon, who are both joining us now from Phoenix. We're going to see them at the top of the hour, about 17 minutes from now here on ESPN SportsCenter with Stephen A. I want to start, because I showed Monty, and we're going to get to the coach perspective on this, guys, but I want to start with, obviously, the biggest storyline, and that is the uncertainty surrounding Giannis, who is a game-time decision for Game 1 with that hyperextended knee. How do you think the uncertainty surrounding his availability is going to impact this series?
Well, I definitely think it's going to impact the first 2 games of this series, Mike. I'm just of the mindset that if you're the Phoenix Suns, you take advantage of it because the Milwaukee Bucks are not the same without him. He's averaging 28 and 12 throughout these playoffs, nearly 28 and 13, and we all know what a freak he is. He's 6'11", he's strong, he's gained about 60 pounds of muscle since he came into the NBA. We know he can block shots, he can defend, and when you're a guy like DeAndre Ayton on the other side for the Phoenix Suns, Giannis Antetokounmpo can have a profound effect on your game because he has that kind of capability. With him, you could win this series, maybe even in 6 games. Without him, you could lose in 6 games. That's how much of a factor that I think that he could potentially end up being, Wilbon, in this series.
Well, remember, in the previous series we saw, the Los Angeles Clippers did not take immediate advantage of the absence of Chris Paul, and it cost him. I mean, we were at a point where it could have been 3-2 the other way in that series. And so, in this case, the Phoenix Suns need to win tonight. I mean, that sounds crazy going into a series saying, well, this is a must-win. It isn't a must-win, but the Suns, to feel good about themselves, they've been playing great. They've had 2 sort of off games in the entire playoffs in 3 rounds. And they know how well they've been playing, particularly defensively. And if Giannis is less than himself, I expect him to play. If you go from doubtful to questionable in a day, and then they start talking about game-time decision, I expect to see him out there. And if he's not out there tonight, I expect to see him shortly thereafter. But the Phoenix Suns need to win and take advantage of this. They've taken advantage of everything, every opportunity they've had in the postseason. Anthony Davis, you know, even LeBron with that ankle, they're taking advantage.
What about this question, Wilbon? I'm of the mindset that the Milwaukee Bucks shouldn't even play Giannis the first 2 games of the series.
We are in agreement.
I think they should sit him down, even if it's at risk of them going down 0-2 before they go back to Milwaukee. The first 2 games of this series are on the road. They're not at home back in Milwaukee. Make sure he's ready to go. Probably needs an additional week. That would help immensely. That's where my mindset is. What about yours?
I agree with every word you just said, because you're talking about going from Tuesday to Sunday. Game 3 in Milwaukee is not till Sunday.
That's right.
And you give him all that. You get 5 more days of recuperation and treatment and all the things they do now, staffs do to help players get ready quicker than ever before, I would not play Giannis in these 2 games. I was sort of surprised when I heard that he was upgraded from doubtful to questionable.
Yeah, he doesn't need to be upgraded. Let's transition to CP3, Chris Paul, because we know what he's meant to the Suns. He's the reason, a big reason, why they're here in this NBA Finals series. This series, a lot of people believe, is going to make or break his legacy as an elite point guard in the game. I will say this, he's still an elite point guard in the game, but if Chris Paul wins this championship, I would put him as one of the top 5 point guards in the history of basketball. No disrespect to the John Stocktons or Jason Kidds of the world, but I think about Magic, Steph Curry, Oscar Robertson, of course, the great Isaiah Thomas, and then Chris Paul is right there. Your thoughts?
That he's right there. And I hate that we have gotten to a point of a culture where you have to have that validation, as if all the other work doesn't count, right? As if Chris Paul hasn't been great in all these series. But that's the way it's evaluated now, and he knows that. He wants this, I don't even want to say desperately, he wants it with as much passion as he's probably ever wanted anything in his basketball life. Chris Paul he's been so much to this team. Did you hear DeAndre Ayton say a couple of days ago, he said this in an interview, he said Chris Paul's been everything to me. DeAndre Ayton hadn't been coached hard. Guess what? Monty Williams is coaching him hard, but Chris Paul's coaching him hard on the floor in timeouts. And Booker says the same thing. Those guys understand what Chris Paul means to this team. And so, look, you don't know if you're going to get this chance. This is not one of those things where you got 4 young stars and they're all rising at the same time. You know what's the Western Conference is going to be like next year?
Oh, Lord.
You get Jamal Murray back and you get Kawhi back. And
in the Eastern Conference, Brooklyn will be back.
So you got so many teams.
We suspect that Kyrie Irving will be available. We know KD will be available and James Harden will be available.
You can't sit back and say, hey, we got close and next year we're going. No, this is their time. And so Chris has that urgency about this series.
Let's transition one more thing. The coaches, Monty Williams, Mike Budenholzer. Who has an advantage in this series and why, in your estimation?
My bias has already been documented from being with you and with Tony on PTI. Look, I don't understand what Milwaukee's doing. I don't understand what Coach Bud is doing. I don't understand. Bobby Portis averaged 11 points on 60% shooting in 18 minutes a game in the first round. He didn't even play games 5, 6, and 7 against Brooklyn when you need to at least somebody get a hand in Kevin Durant's face. Coach Bud doesn't even have him in there. I don't understand it. They go from dominating in the paint one night or one half to just throwing up threes. I don't understand it, but they're here, so he must be doing a lot right. He must have done a lot right to this point to prepare them, Stephen A.
Well, you can say that. I won't go as far as Charles Barkley when he called it dumb. They played dumb basketball. That doesn't make them dumb, but you can be very intelligent, very accomplished, very astute, like Coach Mike Budenholzer is, and do some inexplicable things. And that's what we've seen transpire in these playoffs. I'm definitely going to look at Monty Williams. I'm going to see the pulse of his team that he's clearly had all season and he continues to have. They're not the roller coaster that the Milwaukee Bucks have been. So based on that reality alone, along with the fact that he was first on my list for Coach of the Year honors, I had Tom Thibodeau of my New York Knicks as number 2. Monty Williams is number 1. I think he's done an outstanding job. I think he's proven himself to be an exceptional coach on this level. And I think in this series, I would give him an advantage because half the time, I'm not going to lie, I don't know what the hell Budenholzer's doing.
I don't know what he's doing.
Those are the games they lose, but it's not more than they win, so I'll give him credit for that.
We know what Monty's doing, and more importantly, his team knows what he's doing. His players believe, absolutely. And you can't look at what they're doing and just shake your head and say, I have no idea what's going on, like you do with Milwaukee. Don't know how much that's going to count, but Monty Williams, if we're talking about an edge and where you're going to put your check mark, that's where I'm putting mine as well.
An edge and the check mark. When you get that from Michael Wilbon, the Hall of Famer, that counts for something, Al. That counts for something. Back to you.
Can we just at least say this, though, Michael Wilbon and Stephen A. Smith, there's so much that we don't know. We don't know if Giannis is going to play. We don't know if, yet again, the Suns are going to benefit from facing a team that doesn't have their biggest star playing. What we do know is that tonight we can hand out congratulations. Congratulations in order to Torrey Craig. He is going to win a ring no matter what. He is a member of the Suns. He was with the Bucks. He will be an NBA champion despite who hoists Larry O'Brien Trophy at the end of it all. So thank you. Much more with Stephen A. Smith and Michael Wilbon as we prepare for Game 1 tip in about 2 hours from now. Mike Wilbon's going to join us over on ESPN2 for more SportsCenter at the top of the hour as well. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Enjoy the game.